And on today's show, how to improve your exam results, part 4 of this week's series, Preparing for a Life Insurance Exam with paramedical examiner Kevin Jensen. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician in Innsbruck. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thanks again.
Day 4, boy, we are really getting into the weeds on this thing about taking an exam, and I have a lot of cool questions to ask today because I've noticed things like you have to be, hey, do I take Coumadin? You know, do I have anticoagulants? Am I doing these things? I need to let my people know that this is what's happening because I may, back to our yesterday's show, if you missed it, we were talking about the needle. Now, I heard a rumor now, and I've never needed it myself, but people are very uptight about the needle, and you guys have a thing, it's a mini needle. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's called a butterfly needle. It's actually, the gauge is very much smaller than that standard needle that comes in the kit where the examiner will usually draw that blood. But if we have somebody that just doesn't like needles, or maybe they're a hard stick, where the vein may be deeper, you have a bigger arm, and you have to go down a little bit deeper, that needle will actually go in, it actually will flash, and it'll tell you that you've hit the vein. So it gives that examiner a little bit easier, and it is a little bit easier to take.
Well, I guess my question would be then why wouldn't you use that all the time?
Well, cost.
So it's more expensive
It
to use
is,
it. Oh.
it is.
Well, now I'm looking at some of the things that can improve my results. And if I'm taking Coumadin and things like this, those are things that will impact my exam. And we're telling people that we're taking our medications, and I really think we should take our medications during the exam. If I have a regular cardiovascular, I'm thinking like lisinopril, which is for hypertension. Should I wait till my exam and then take my normal daily medication?
No, normally we don't tell clients to stop taking their medications. We'll make sure we list them on the exam form.
Now, I noticed that, and this would be a big one for yours truly here, I have a very high protein diet. I try to stay away from carbs. It says here, a diet of high protein may also alter your test results. Now, I did not know that a high protein diet could actually alter it.
Yeah, we've heard of different protein diets that are out there, a Body for Life diet. We've heard about that in the past. What that does is it puts, with all that protein going into the body, it puts that body into ketosis. And that's a form of what the body is producing. And what that is that ketosis, that result is actually a precursor to diabetes. So again, the information we're getting, we want to make sure when it gets to an underwriter, it's not misjudged on what it actually is.
All right, so I'm assuming then, if I'm a high protein guy, and I am, how many days out do I need to stop, and start just doing a normal diet, stay away from? How far do I have to get out to make my results better?
We would love 72 hours.
Oh, so I need about 3 days or so to really have that happen. Now, I'm glad you bring that up because, again, when I'm looking at people like everybody is, I remember the Atkins craze. I was all over that. And I still am dominated by that thinking. So when I come to my exam, about 3 days out, I have to say, okay, no more protein for a little while. I need to just be normal, do my normal eating habits. I noticed that we're not supposed to be taking caffeine and antibiotics. Now, I'm kind of like, does that cocktail mixture just screw up your results in?
Well, the caffeine and the biotics, the caffeine definitely is going to raise your heart rate. It's probably what I'm on right now, but it will raise your heart rate. With the biotics, again, with that information being known on the exam form, along with the other medications that a client could be taking, it wouldn't adjust that much for the exam.
What about antidepressants? I've heard that, can that skew numbers very much?
Exactly. The antidepressants can do a lot of different things. It can cause insomnia. It can make it so you don't get a good night's sleep. It actually can lower a heart rate. It can make the body seem a little bit in a subdued motion.
Oral contraceptives. Now, here we go. I mean, I'm thinking, hey, I told the guy, I said, hey, you remember we're going to go ahead and do your spouse. We're going to have that exam taken. And I was going through the list, and it said oral contraception. He says, well, hey, what if she misses her pill or something? I was just her daily medication for oral contraception. Could that be a problem here?
Again, when the underwriters understand what people can be taking, the biggest thing, as long as we're notating it on the exam.
I see a little potpourri here: oral decongestants, asthma medicine, and even some heartburn medication can skew numbers. I mean, I was surprised at this list. This is a lot in here. It talks about it could increase your blood pressure. It could actually cause you not to sleep. And we talked about this, I think, in Tuesday's show. That could be detrimental to your exam, not getting a good, proper night's sleep.
Exactly. The whole point of this program is to make sure that client is ready for the exam. And even something as easy as a heartburn medication can change what the body is producing.
Well, that blows my mind. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about some other things that can help you improve your exam, some things that I don't think you would have ever thought of. We'll be right back after the break.
It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company.
Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, I'm with our guest, Kevin Jensen. We're talking about how to set yourself up and position yourself for the best exam. Now, this is where we kind of get into what I call the more eclectic side of your practice. I kind of like it, though. Herbal products can have some, they're always good. People are taking them for good, healthy reasons. But when I'm taking my exam, I may start to reconsider. Now, the first one is St. John's wort. Now, I don't know why people take that to begin with, but why should I not take it when I'm taking my exam?
Well, what the St. John's wort, the saw palmetto can do, it can actually lower the amount of iron you have in your body. Of course, if you have a low iron, that's going to make you look anemic. And so again, it's information that's going to go to your carrier that's going to tell you that.
Saw palmetto. How does that affect your exam? I was kind of, all these have relationship to iron?
Exactly. Those different herbals that you can take, again, along with different other medications that you're taking, can change those results that you're having, and again, make you look different to an underwriter.
So when I'm taking my exam, I want to look at all my herbs that I'm taking and making sure that I don't get on this bad list, because this list could affect, even though in normal situations, it's good for your diet, you're doing it for a reason, but for our exam, it could skew the numbers.
Exactly. We want to make sure that when we talk about any kind of information, it's anything that can affect that blood draw.
Okay, ginkgo. I mean, everybody's into ginkgo. It's high on the list. If I am doing ginkgo, what is it going to do about, we're already talking about using the little needle, right? And I'm taking ginkgo. What does that do for my blood exam when they're trying to pull blood out of my arm?
Well, the ginkgo is going to do one thing. It's going to be thinning the blood, along with some other things that it does. It makes it, when that needle does come out of the arm, finally, when you're completed, it won't have the tendency to stop bleeding. You'll have to keep pressure on it longer. And that's, again, something that's going to make the client uncomfortable in the home.
So if I have people taking ginkgo, I need to give them a heads up. I need to kind of stop taking this for maybe 24, 48 hours out. Is that, or maybe longer?
Exactly. Or make sure you notify your examiner before you do the draw.
Now, I'm looking at ginger. Ginger, that was kind of a strange one. Ginger, that's another one of those thinning agents. And I'm like, I was also looking at garlic, which I know can boost the effects of anticoagulants. Now, when I think about these things, I never think about that. I put garlic on everything. I throw it on everything. But when I'm taking my exam, like when I started getting ready for my exam this summer, I looked at my list and I said, oh, no garlic here for a little while. I want to make sure that I'm coming in. So I'm looking at certain things like garlic, like ginger, that can boost those effects of my anticoagulants. I want to be careful about that, and it increases the risk of bleeding. We're taking the needle out. Like I said, I think about the client, we put the needle in, they're already uptight about that. We pull it out, and he won't stop bleeding.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, these are issues that we want to talk about. Ginseng, talk to me about that. Here we are. Here's another herb that a lot of people do. It's very good for you. People do it in their tea. But when I'm taking my exam, it's another effect that could cause blood thinning.
Exactly, and it has a two-prong there. With the blood thinning side of it, it's also an energy herb that you can be taking to increase your energy. But to increase energy, it's an increased heart rate, which will, again, you can see where the heart rate can affect the exam.
Okay, so what I'm liking about this segment and the segment we just did today is we're trying to prepare ourselves for an exam, and we're trying to improve our exams the best possible. That's why we're bringing up these, what I would call, these really are secondary or tertiary items for an exam. But to me, you start putting these together, this could really affect your numbers and really give you a better position in your exam. And especially, clients want to have a good experience when they have the exam. They don't want to be sitting there going back to the agent saying, she couldn't find my vein. They were poking me 1,000,000 times trying to, I mean, that's not a good experience.
No, we've all been there. If you've ever had a blood draw and you didn't drink a lot of water, you know how it felt. It got that little stinging effect, but that water brings a lot into play. It makes that blood draw a lot more comfortable.
Well, I want to talk about one other thing. We talked about exercise before. We've talked about avoiding foods, alcohol, caffeine. Now, you notice also avoiding foods in high cholesterol, sugar, protein. I kind of understand because we've talked about that. But what is sugar? If I'm eating high foods in cholesterol, that's just going to spike my numbers. Isn't that correct? My HDL ratios.
You'd be amazed on, prior to that blood draw, what you eat in that 2 hours prior to the draw, how much it can affect that blood. A lot of the food that we get is processed. It has a lot of sugar in it, which again is going to increase that elevation. So if you can eat something even good prior to the exam, if you have to do that, a low saturated fat, a Cheerios, a salad prior to that exam would be one of the best things to eat prior to the exam.
Actually, if you're going to sit for an exam, this is your client's best time. If they were looking for a little bit of a diet or they want to try to eat right for a little while, this would be a good introduction for their diet. So I'm looking at high cholesterol foods. We kind of want to stay off of that for a couple, it says 24 hours, but I think you probably a couple days out would be great where you're just changing your diet just a little bit, preparing for the exam, sugars especially. And again, we've talked about protein before. High protein, I have to say, I've seen so many guys that would say, hey, Steve, I went and had a huge barbecue at 5 o'clock, and then he has this exam 6 in the morning, and even though he's fasted, that prior dinner, that prior barbecue has actually affected his numbers.
Exactly. Again, it's back to what you're putting into your body. I think getting ready for that exam can be almost like a 3-day process. You want to make sure that the client knows you've got to find out what that client's going to be eating, what they're going to be drinking. You've got to let them know what to be doing. If they can avoid that high saturated fat food going into that exam, it'll make their results a lot better.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed an episode? Go out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.